Perhaps the question should be put to the Council.
Very well. What says the Order of Her Majesty's Royal Knights in the matter of Whitechapel? Aye or nay?
Nay!
Hey everyone, this is Player One, and today I'm coming to you with our first Second Chance review. For these videos, I take a look at games which have been critically panned or have a bad reputation, and find out for myself if the hate is well deserved. So let's get right to it and talk about The Order 1886. The Order was developed by Ready at Dawn and Santa Monica Studios, who have collaborated on other games like God of War Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. You play as Sir Galahad, also referred to by his real name, Grayson, as a member of the 19th century Knights of the Round Table, hence the name Galahad. Known as the Order, you and the rest of your comrade-in-arms serve as elite operatives for the Queen. The Order is usually out battling lycans, vampires, and other supernatural creatures, but have lately been tied up with an insurrection of rebels in London, which is where you come in. You discover early on that something is not quite right and realize that the more you investigate, the worse it gets. Before long, you begin to realize the corruption goes to the top, and you're caught between your duty as a knight to follow orders and your duty to safeguard England. Sounds interesting, right? So what did the Order 1886 get so wrong to receive such a huge backlash? Before we answer that, let's first talk about the gameplay. The Order 1886 is basically a very linear third-person cover shooter. It doesn't reinvent the genre by any means, but to say it's not fun would be a disservice. Popping in and out of cover is easy, and although it can sometimes feel a bit off, it works for the most part. The guns feel satisfying when you shoot them, and the hit detection is pretty good. Popping headshots is a breeze, and the enemies react to specific parts you shoot at. There are a few cool special weapons you can use, but they only last for a short time and are only available in the sections where they complement the story. There's no real incentive to explore, since you don't find anything worth finding other than to enjoy the beautiful detail. More on that in a bit. There are also non-shooting sections where you are tasked with exploring an area at a ridiculously slow pace to look at items. It's nice because graphics are incredible, but it's basically nothing more than a developer's way to show off the beautiful graphics and can be very frustrating. For the most part, you focus on fighting the rebel insurrectionists, killing them indiscriminately in long firefights. But there are a couple times where you face off against werewolf creatures called lycans. At first, it's very scary and exciting. However, the sequences are ridiculously repetitive. They only attack from one side and literally hit, run, repeat. This was a missed opportunity. There are also some stealth sections which vary from okay to extremely annoying. The reason being instant quick deaths if you make a mistake, and the only way to get a stealth kill is through a QTE. That wasn't a good idea. These latter two sections of the game where you're trying to be stealthy or you're looking for specific items is where the pacing takes a nosedive. It can be very frustrating as I found myself wanting to get these over with to get back to the next firefight or see what was happening next within the story. Let me say this now, the story is actually very interesting. It is completely underrated, and frankly, it's better than most shooters out today. It's not perfect by any means, but it did keep me interested all the way to the end. Although I can see why people were frustrated because it obviously sets up a sequel. Then again, what movie or video game doesn't do that today? It is true that there are only 2 real boss fights and that both play identically to each other, but they are cool and fit the story well. The characters and dialogue are superb. The voice acting within the game by all the characters is top notch, with film-like camera angles and animations. This is important to note as you will spend a long time looking at cutscenes. If you like games like Metal Gear Solid or the Yakuza series, this will not bother you. And frankly, the scenes are so good that you can literally sit back and enjoy them. Some people protest that the game has too many cinematics, but I didn't find an issue with them. I feel like they all fit very well with the story, and it never felt like they were just an excuse to fill gameplay time. The presentation of this game is incredible. The graphics are outstanding, better than most PS4 games released even today. It's incredible that the graphics in this game are so good that sometimes I couldn't tell when the cinematic was over and it was my turn to begin to play. That is a meaningful achievement, I think. I didn't experience any glitches within the game, which sadly is worth noting as most games can't boast such a claim. There are no real load times except at the beginning of the level, which is a real technical feat considering how beautiful everything looks. This is a huge plus, as some of the cheap deaths you will have at the hands of QTEs can be very annoying, so loading almost instantly after you fail a QTE keeps you from getting too frustrated. The music fits the atmosphere nicely and perfectly complements the more dramatic scenes throughout the game. However, I would have liked a little bit more of an epic score during the boss battles, but that's just my personal preference. As far as content is concerned, if you just look at the time that you are actually shooting, then yes, it's a very short game. However, the story did make the game feel satisfying as the story got real interesting in the second half of the game, due in no small part to the stellar voice acting. The Order has no real replayability though, so just keep that in mind. The papers and items you find really have little or nothing to do with the overall plot. There are some audio files you can find, but you can only listen to them in the menu, which is frankly a dumb program decision. So why were the rebels the focus of the game? Well, that was just a poor design choice, obviously. But you get the impression the sequel will open up into a whole new universe of supernatural creatures. Then again, with the Order's poor critical reception, it's likely a supernatural force would be needed to even greenlight a sequel. We give The Order 1886 a 7 out of 10. It's a good game, better than okay. Yes, there are several things that slowed the pacing of the game in lieu of showing off the world and the engine, but the story is good and has been underrated by many critics. Not every third-person shooter is Uncharted or The Last of Us in scope of storytelling, and this game offers you more than most others of the genre, both in style and delivery of narrative. Could The Order 1886 be better? Absolutely. But we have to consider that what is offered is an engaging experience for those that like cinematic storytelling in their games. Is the game worth the original $60 asking price? No. However, you can pick up this game today for significantly cheaper, sometimes less than $15, and at that price, you do yourself a disservice not to do so. Everyone should experience the incredible detailed environments that this game offers, and ask yourself, why don't more AAA games look this good? Graphics aren't everything, but The Order 1886 demonstrates that the PS4 has much more to offer than what most games are getting out of it. Overall, we recommend you pick up this game at a bargain price and experience what it is like to be a Knight of the Round Table in 1886. Okay everyone, thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future reviews, please leave those below and make sure to check back often for more reviews, walkthroughs, and other videos about things we find interesting. Hope to hear from you all soon.